Adversaries on AM 660, The Answer, WORL. I'd go to the mat with these guys any day.
All right, we're back. I'm Christopher Hart, along with Aubrey Kahn. We're in the studio. Abe Katsman is on the line, coming to us live from Jerusalem. And if you have a question for Abe, you can give us a call at 407-774-8255. Abe, Aubrey has a question for you along the lines of what we were just discussing.
Right, Abe, you know, I'm always concerned about what goes on in Israel because I have family living in Jerusalem. And I'm just wondering, now that Russia is helping in the Middle East, how is that affecting what's going on in Israel?
Well, I don't think that it's connected to this wave of terror, but maybe in some roundabout way that maybe in some way it is. But I don't think there's any direct connection. But longer term, have the Israelis worried a little bit in terms of what they're going to be able to do operating in the skies of Syria, for instance, when they need to intercept sophisticated arms shipments heading to Hezbollah that are going to be used against Israel. So generally Israel would kind of operate freely in the skies if their intelligence was good and they knew when the arms shipments were coming, they were able to take those arms shipments out. But now with the Russians, it gets a lot more complicated.
Right, but then there's this other problem that could come up now that oil has been discovered in the Golan Heights. Don't you think that the Russians will be kind of influence and help the Arab nations to take back the Golan Heights?
That could very well be. I think the Golan Heights are going to, now that they discovered oil there, I think that the Golan Heights are going to start attracting the attention of whoever ends up controlling the Syrian side of things. But the Golan Heights are kind of split between Israel and Syria, and Israel discovered oil at least on its side of the Golan. So I wouldn't be surprised if down the road there are demands made on Israel to turn the land over to whatever entity is operating Syria.
Well, we know Barack Obama will attempt to do that, because he has said you've got to go back to the 1947 borders. But,
right,
you know, I'm very concerned because of Russian influence over there. Russia was the big instigator in the Middle East when we had the Six-Day War and so on, because they were aiding and encouraging the Arabs. Now, of course, we have them and Barack Obama aiding the Arabs, and it doesn't look too good right now.
No, it's hard to say how things are going to turn out. Because you have, for one thing, while I don't trust the Russians, it still isn't the Soviet Union. And while they are, let's say, connected to Egypt, they've reestablished a much stronger relationship with Egypt than they had in 40 years. But Egypt is not the Egypt that it used to be, at least not under the current government. I hear what you're saying, and I think that it's something to worry about, but I don't think it's something to worry about yet.
Well, after all, Abe, last night on 60 Minutes, Barack Obama said that we're viewed around the world as stronger than before he came into office. True or not?
Must be some of that cocaine from South America.
I don't know about that. But
leading in climate change legislation. Well, Israel would not share that assessment. That's for sure.
I don't think very many people around the world looking at us from the outside would share that assessment as many of us inside looking out. He's kind of in his own world there. And I'm sure he has a number of people that would be in agreement, but certainly they don't know what they're talking about. The Iranians, they have already gotten the benefits of sanctions being lifted by Europe. Now their parliament evidently has approved the deal, and right on the heels of them announcing that they've discovered uranium, they've now announced that they have in operation a new and more deadly missile.
Yeah, this is called the EMAD. They just tested it. The Israeli missile experts are saying that this is a pretty major leap forward in terms of accuracy.
Right.
The capabilities of the control system of this missile. Nobody is sure exactly what the range is, but the buzz is that it's got a range of about 800 miles, which coincidentally is just about the distance between Iran and Israel. And this was, the UN supposedly had prohibited Iran from working to build ballistic missiles that were able to deliver a nuclear warhead.
Yeah, and that
Iran has gone ahead and just said, well, we're not asking permission from anybody, we're just doing it.
Right, and as we all know, the UN's ineffective.
Yeah, but I thought that was one of the preconditions to the deal, to them, making a deal, and all in good faith. Weren't we told by the UN that they were doing everything they were supposed to do and weren't doing anything they weren't supposed to do?
At the end of the day, I think Barack Obama is going to be the one person adhering to the deal.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Unfortunately, I believe you are. All right, let's talk a little politics here while we have a few more minutes. Ben Carson, Dr. Carson has, for a guy that speaks softly, he sure manages to attract a lot of shouting back at him. He made some comments in regards to gun control law legislation that one of the reasons over here the debate is often when it comes to gun control, why do people need AK-47s? Why do they need AR-15s of the like for hunting? As though the Second Amendment is solely there so that we can go hunt, where in fact it's there so that we can protect ourselves from our own government if necessary. We can protect ourselves from foreign invaders, and we can protect ourselves from criminals. And he pointed this out, and in making his point, he said, if the Nazis had not confiscated all the guns, then the people would have been in a better position to protect themselves, and the Holocaust would have been a whole lot different. And I'm paraphrasing, but I think I got it pretty accurate. Did that make the press over there, and what was the response over there? Was it similar to what a lot of liberals were saying here, that he went way over the line here?
Well, it got a little bit of attention here. Anytime a presidential candidate brings up the Holocaust, it's going to get attention in Israel. Generally, in Israel, people are uncomfortable with using Holocaust analogies. But in this case, it wasn't really an analogy. It was talking about the Holocaust. And Carson wasn't wrong. You take a look at the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising, where they did finally accumulate some weapons and with some impromptu strategies actually fought back and held out for some time. Ultimately, it was unsuccessful, but they had the Nazi army tied down for a while.
Hey, correct. Hey, real quick, correct me if I'm wrong, but it turns out that the rebels that you're talking about, the Jews, were some of the most effective and brave of the fighters against the Nazis. Am I wrong about that?
Yeah, no, they were, and they were engaged in what was in many ways, a hopeless mission, because they were overwhelmingly outgunned. But with nothing to lose, they gave it a try, and they held out for some time. I think that the Nazis anticipated that liquidating the ghetto, the Warsaw Ghetto, would take a matter of days, and instead it, I believe, took a matter of months, several months.
Yeah, I
might have my dates a little bit wrong, but I think that's right.
Yeah, I believe they got a reputation as being some of the most effective of the underground fighters. So certainly it would have been much different, and only God can only know how much different. But in terms of the overall gun debate, obviously that's a big thing. Now, let's getting back to Israel. Are people over there being encouraged to protect themselves?
Yeah, with this state of the attacks that's come, the Israeli government has asked people who are armed, people who have weapons, to carry their weapons with them. So they want, and in fact, a number of the terrorists have been stopped. Several of them have been stopped by civilians with guns.
Imagine that. Imagine that.
Yep.
All right, just another question or two, and we'll let you go, Abe. The Democrat debate starts tomorrow. I know we've talked a lot about the Republican candidates. Is there any one of the Democratic candidates that kind of lights people's fire over there?
I don't think so. I think everybody knows Hillary Clinton.
Of course.
I think they see Bernie Sanders as kind of a curiosity.
Yeah.
And I don't think they've heard of the rest of them.
Is that right? Okay. All right, well, you got any expectations for tomorrow night's debate? Or are you going to use it in place of any Sominex or anything like that you might need?
Here's my long shot prediction.
Okay.
I think the person who's going to come out of this with a boost is going to be James Webb. I think the other guys are the Lincoln Chafee and O'Malley. I think are lightweights. Webb is not. Webb has a resume.
Yeah, he does.
And
Secretary of the Navy.
I think he's going to come across as being relatively sane compared to a lot of the others there. I think not so far left wing.
That's interesting because I think you're right. I think that he will be considered the serious one, the adult in the room, if you will, the one who presents the most cogent arguments. So, well, we will see, and we'll look forward to your post-debate analysis next week. And in the meantime, we're going to pray harder than ever for you and Israel, Abe.
We need it. It's appreciated. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And take care.
Take care.
Absolutely. That's Abe Katsman, folks, and he's a great columnist. He writes columns every bit as good as the interviews that he gives. And you can find his work at Abe Katsman, that's with an S.com. Abe Katsman.